Well, welcome to Topeka Insiders, episode number 10. Today, I have the privilege and honor of having Roger Dahlby, the proud founder and owner of Advanced Environmental Services and Advanced Basements here in Topeka. Welcome, Roger.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for jumping on the show, Roger. So, I've known Roger for quite some time, and we've done a lot of business together as local business owners, and he's got some really profound stories to share with us. So let's rewind a little bit back to how you became a public servant for the Navy.
When I was in high school, I was going to be in electronics, and my number one focus almost from junior high to the end of senior high or middle of senior high was to be an electronics technician. But it turns out I'm colorblind. So
I did not know that about you.
Right? Not getting into electronics, I decided it was just kind of lost for probably at least, I'd say 3, 4, 5 months, and you're getting closer and closer to graduation. This is my junior year though. So my junior year, I signed on to be in the Navy, Naval Seabees. And so since 1983, I was said the oath to be fight for my country and be in the military. And the Navy Seabees are, if nobody knows what a Seabee is, you have the engineer component to the Army. The engineer component to the Marines is the United States Navy Seabees.
Really?
So we're the engineers and designing things but all the officers of the Seabees, they're civil engineers. So you got a civil engineer around every corner telling you to become a civil engineer. They saw potential in me. They knew I was smarter than the average guy that joins the military, and kind of basically, encouraged me to get back into college, and where I that was my next step. And I was living in Minnesota, and also being the reservist Seabee, I could go to college and still stay in the military. So I went to college, then got a job. Turned out to be a full-time job. So I went to the University of Minnesota full-time and was a full-time student. And that's not so easy to do. A lot of guys, I had noticed, first of all, you had, let's say, 20 friends, let's say, going to college at the beginning.
Right.
And out of the 20, maybe 2 left. No, it was three I could think of.
Because they dropped out? Or
yeah, they dropped out. And usually they're not dropping out because of the college. A lot of times, it's sometimes they're dropping out because out of the rat race because something in their family life, some event happened, and they just didn't make it through the college rigmarole. Hopefully they come back. I never saw them.
Wow. So that was in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, I was, by the time I graduated. I also had a job offer about 2-3 years before I graduated.
Wow.
And they paid for the rest of my education. And so I didn't, most of it, not all of it, they paid for the actual college part, but you had to do the living expenses. And so I had a job waiting for me before graduation, and again, potential. And also they paid for it. And so that was going to be my next step. Another little feature in there was the Desert Storm.
Wow. Yeah. And so you were a part of that, right?
Yeah. I got called up for Desert Storm, and that job that I was waiting for me, and it was the last quarter of college. And so not only that, I don't know if University of Minnesota, a quarter is only like 11 weeks long, 12 weeks long. And if you missed 4 weeks getting deployed in the military, because that war was over pretty quick,
right? Got
deployed, came back, I still was able to pass my classes and get my diploma so I could catch that job that was waiting for me. I was worried that they would, that wouldn't be available.
Wow.
And because they weren't acting like they were going to wait for you. So,
yeah. Well, Roger has always been a go-getter as far as I've known him, but thank you for your service, by the way. So did you have to go overseas for the war?
I would like to say I did, but no. I stayed on America supporting the troops from this end. And the Seabees, a lot of things have to happen in the background to make sure that the people in the foreground are doing their job. And that's what I did. Loaded airplanes was one of my primary.
Wow.
Designed some things here for there because I could load an airplane pretty quick, actually.
Really? So did you have interaction with those Top Gun guys? Like
the pilots for the pilots, I could tell us a little story. We're loading pallets and stuff, and we put them on the airplanes. Well, I was the load planner, and I never had any formal training in this. You just throw it, in
on the aircraft carrier.
No, load planning to go on a C-130 or the Galaxies, the big air transports. Most of our air equipment had to fly over.
Okay.
Because the Seabees got there first to build the bases and put all the tents up and stuff, so that those guys that came off the ships would have a place to go. So we flew our stuff over. The Army put it on ships.
Wow.
So those things had to end up on airplanes, and I was planning the loads, and the lieutenant was all upset with me because he found out I didn't have the formal training I was supposed to have to be doing this job. But all it is a center of gravity on a plane,
Yeah.
And as an engineer, I know how to calculate the center of gravity, and I know.
Right.
So I had their equation method, and I used my equation method to confirm that I know what I'm doing, and I was spot on. So I was designing these things to within pounds of perfection, because that's if you know anything about engineers, they're perfectionists, or they don't know pi up to the 3.14. I know pi to 3.1415926,
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting.
So I did this air planning, and the pilot, the lieutenant's yelling at me and stuff. He's kind of upset because I'm doing things without having all the right credentials. And the pilots were coming back from being over there, because they're just doing round trips, And one of the other guys said, "Hey, we should just talk to one of the pilots." And the pilot said, how was that last loads that you took over there? And he goes, "You know what? It never happened before." So I took off, went in the air, and what you do is you pump fuel from one wing to the other, you trim out this and that, and get that plane flying perfection. He sat there, he got up there, he let go of the steering wheel, basically. I don't know what he said, actually, but you made it sound really eloquent. He basically let go of the steering wheel, and he had to make all his adjustments. He went, it's perfect.
So that he said it never happened before until you loaded the airplane.
Yep.
That's an amazing story to tell.
So that's one of the, and I was the only load planner, so nobody else helped me with it. So
wow, that's amazing. So like, Roger, backtrack a little bit. How did you become an engineer? Like from college, University of Minnesota. That's where you got your engineering.
University of Minnesota. It's a prestigious college in civil engineering.
Okay.
Every college has their focuses. They're also very prestigious in electrical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So if you graduate MIT, they're not the best in all engineering facets.
Right.
If you're going to be a civil engineer, you'd want to go to the University of Colorado, which is School of Mines.
Okay.
That's, as far as I'm concerned, at the time I graduated, that was the number one school for civil engineering.
Okay.
And University of Minnesota was in the top 10. So, being that I grew up there, being right next door to my house, you don't want to jump around all the country to look for a better college when that one's the best.
That's awesome. So I just want to put this on record. I know so many contractors in our region, and then, between here and Kansas City area, and Roger is one of the very few engineers I know, actually one of the two. The other guy doesn't really do even close to what Roger does, as far as, general practice and stuff like that. So you can look Roger up, with this engineer license and stuff like that.
Yep.
You can't, as far as I know, you cannot just go around if you don't have the engineer title to go around and proclaim, "Hey, I'm an engineer," right?
Yeah. There's been people in my industry that have.
It's not like the train engineer at Gage Park.
No,
right? You can say, "I'm an engineer," right? You could say in that situation because you're,
Being said, my dad was driving trains for the railroad. He was not an engineer, but he had. I remember when I was a little kid getting on the train, and my old man,
right,
and he's driving the train. They don't steer much,
right?
But it was pretty cool to go for a train ride I suppose he would have got in trouble.
Right.
With my father.
That's cool. That's a cool story. So Roger, and then you end up going to KU, right? For a little bit?
I went to KU, K-State, Washburn, continuing education.
Okay.
You just can't get enough education. Throwing that in, I'm also an EMT, or it was an EMT.
Right.
And I had to get through college, go to Washburn for that.
For that education.
And Yeah, like 20 people took the class, and I think about 16 or 12, no, about 16, somewhere there. Yeah, 16 and 12 took the test. I was the only one that passed it first time.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that was a harder test than the PE exam.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Professional engineer.
I thought the PE exam was cakewalk. I took the test and I was just went right on through it like it was. I was all nervous. If you get the nerves out, the test is easy.
Yeah. So, and Roger,
for an engineer,
right. And also, because I've known Roger personally for quite some time. And then, he had the privilege of and honor of working for the state of Kansas for quite some time. And then that all those events previously, like we kind of discussed, led to the founding of advancing environmental services and advancing environmental basements, for the general public. Can you kind of tell us a little bit backstory? Because you are very well known as far as real estate industry. A lot of real estate agents use Rogers services from radon mitigation, mold mitigation, testing, different testing, all sorts of stuff to kind of really better people's lives.
Yeah.
And so tell us how all that stuff happened.
That's part of it. You work for governments and you're working for KDOT, you're designing roads and stuff, and you're paving the world. You just kind of lose that sight where you're actually helping people.
Right.
And I can't remember, what was the first thing? I think the first thing was that I became a firefighter, and I became an EMT. And
was that
again,
just one day you decided, hey, I want to go out there and just kind of do that?
No, that was that story came from we brought my daughter home from the hospital, and she was a day old, and this is my second child, and she's home from the hospital, and all of a sudden she stopped breathing.
Oh, really?
And she turned blue, or no, blue. She turned blue, and she was struggling, and the next thing you know, she actually passed out. And she she was gone, for consciousness.
Wow.
And so they give you that little suction ball that you have when they send you home from the hospital. That was the first thing I'm going to. And I tried puffing and I tried suctioning it out, and I pulled a loogie out of my daughter's nose that had made any grown man proud. It looked like a snake almost. And I thought I was pulling something out of her nose, and I was all nervous. And when you're a first time parent, your child's not breathing. This is
serious stuff.
Pucker factor 12. I mean, you're in shock. And so I pulled that out. Meantime, my wife's called 911, and they show up, and I got her breathing finally, and she's conscious and awake, and they show up and they do all the checks, and now they want you to go to the hospital and stuff. And
right.
And I watched the guys, and I went outside, and they're all driving trucks, not fire trucks. They're driving pickup trucks and SUVs and stuff like that. And I'm like, what's going on here? Well, I didn't realize I was in a reservist fire department. And so when your child's not breathing, if it took them a minute to get to me, which would have been like a miracle, I would been amazed, but it took, forever, And so that forever, I decided I found out that almost no firemen in Mission Township lived in Mission Township. They all lived in Topeka. So all these volunteers came from Topeka to come help me. And I became one of the few Mission Township firefighters that lived in Mission. And from that, we could take the story to the next level. 3, 4, 5 years later, when I'm the EMT, 911 call comes out, baby's not breathing. And I drove down I parked my truck in the driveway backwards. I had my gear sitting right by my bed, jump in the gear, jump in the truck. And you hear code blue, child, you drive a little faster than you're supposed to, and might be making those turns pretty hard. But, it's middle of the night. It's like probably 1, 2 in the morning. And I showed up, and the mom said, boy, you got here fast. And that's what you want to hear when you're at a pediatric code blue. And I didn't know what I was going to find. Go upstairs where the dad is, and he's got a baby presenting exactly like my daughter did. And he was 3 days old or 4 days old. And I just put that little suction ball in there, and I pulled something out of his nose, and he starts breathing again. And I handed him to the father, and they think I saved their baby's life. But
you did.
Well,
you really did, because they didn't know what to do, Roger.
In a sense, you might have. I don't consider it one of my saves. I think I saved, I think my count's like 16 lives, but I don't count that one because if the baby passes out, what he'll do is he'll start breathing. That's what Elena, Callie was doing. Callie would pass out and then she'd wake back up and she'd pass out. She'd wake back up. And that's because when she's awake, she wants to breathe out of her nose.
Oh.
When she's asleep, she'll breathe out of her mouth.
Is it because the congestion that they had?
It's called the Malmic breathing reflex. Babies want to breathe out of their nose, and they don't give you when you hand you a child. Did they give you a list of things that you're supposed to know? No, they just say, "Here, go home, do it." And that's one of the things as a father I had to learn. And so, well, now you're a firefighter, and the next step was getting these kids through college.
Right.
And when you work from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, I needed a second scam, and that became radon mitigation. Mm-hmm. And I did that because I watched another firefighter doing it, and he got out of the business the same time I slid in. I waited till he got out. I wasn't trying to step on his toes.
Right. Very honest business owner, by the way.
I had his approval, and so B&B Radon went out. I slid in, and I started taking over that, and it really did help out the financial picture of getting through life. And so, when next thing you know that when you're a contractor, it's a lot easier to you're in control of your own destiny. You're proud of what you're doing, and designing these roads and paving the roads just tended to have a different pathway for me. Mm-hmm. And so, the KDOT's a very secure place, a nice place to work, but so is contracting for yourself. Like I said, it becomes your baby.
Right.
You when you run a business and stuff, and all the different things, and it just enthralls your mind. It kind of possessed me for a while, to the startup of the business.
Right. So that's your fifth child, right? When you
and they don't
really started that.
And my wife have nice support to help out. She does our testing and stuff. She helps out and does a lot of the books and stuff. I can still do the books. I know how, but mm-hmm. I'd rather be in the field, staying awake, because I got to keep things in. I'm hyper, I guess.
Sort of. I think.
Yeah, I need a lot of things in my life, and so the foundation of doing things out in the field rather than sitting behind a desk mm-hmm. is a very appealing thing. The fire department brings that in. I was like going, dang it, if I could do it all over again, fireman would have been an awesome career.
Yeah. So how many, Roger just kind of skim through that, his success and all the accomplishments he has had as a radon contractor. How many radon mitigations have you done? Like radon mitigation systems have you put in?
We keep track in our database. We're missing some stuff from the early years, and best guess is about 3,500 radon systems are spinning that we install, and I have a company that installs them now. I have employees, but I pretty much install I'd say 95% of those, and they're all and again, you think you're saving lives there too.
Right.
Because 100%. radon kills.
We're going to talk about that here just in a second. So 3,500, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
3,500. So 3,500. I remember we have this guy, mutual friends of ours, Kenny Myrick. When he mm-hmm. showed up, he said, "Hey, Roger, I remember you because you installed a radon system for us like 10 years ago, something like 20 years ago."
Yeah. And there's been guests also that we have to our generosity network.
Right.
And I know them, I know him, I know him.
So Roger's done a lot. So little education segment here. So radon, most homeowners, home buyers, or home sellers, they recently went through the process. They would know intersection of the contract, I think in the state of Kansas, mm-hmm. that will be mentioned. You have the opportunity of putting a radon mitigation system or inspect the, test for radon. And what, for the people who have no idea about radon, because I've come across people who have no idea about radon.
Yeah.
What exactly is radon? Roger, you want to kind general?
Radon, just to be quick and easy about it, it's no different. It's radiation. that emanates from the breakdown of uranium in the ground. And as that piece of uranium that's usually in granite gases off, it's gassing off for 50,000 years, radon. And then radon breaks down into other gases and has a 3.8 day half-life. And it breaks down into other things like thoron and all these other gases. And so, but the thing is that particle, if it's in your lung, when it changes state from radon to thoron and for a nanosecond, another gas, it fails me. And as those things, it can damage your DNA. If it damages a cell with damaged DNA is a potential to become cancer. And that's the initial aspect of cancer. Cancer is basically a DNA damage, cell damage.
Cool.
And once it gets into a certain state, it starts to proliferate as cancer. And if it happens in your lungs, you can kind of punch your ticket. Lung cancer is one of the most fatal, and there has not been enough medical leaps in that industry to save the lives of these patients.
Right.
And that in the radon world, you'd have people out there talking about the damages it did to their life, and they're and all that, and well, they don't live long, so they're not on those commercials that tell you about their skin cancer, their heart, their other types of cancers, because they just don't last long after they find out.
Wow.
And in this industry, I've met people that have lung cancer, people that have lost their husbands and wives and to the lung cancer, and daughters or sons. And these people really do pull at your heart. So it does keep you enthralled. Now I have another breaking out into mold mitigation and stuff like that. It still leaves you wanting to stay in the radon world because you've done some good there, and it's not all about, as you go through your life, you're looking for meaning, and that's where I find some of my meaning, that and the fire service and putting out fires, and it's all kind of fun too, actually. Putting on a simple brush fire, it's fun. Can't hide that.
That's awesome. So the radon mitigation systems Roger put in houses, my understanding as a professional real estate agent, of course, the radon gas is emitting from the soil under the basement floor, right?
Collecting in the
basement area for the most part, dissipates on the ground level for the most part if you have good ventilation and stuff like that. So Roger's putting, give and take 3,500 of those systems, really just kind of the systems channel that gas through the roof, right? So they just give a channel for the gas to go out.
We suck it out of the below the floor of the basement and then eject it up above the roof, and that's basically what a radon system is doing.
Right.
It sounds all simple, but as you thread this through the house, like yesterday, very complex problem solving. And if nothing else about engineers, we're problem solvers, and me solving that, how to get that through the house without being able to see that pipe so that customer is happy. Very expensive houses, they don't want to see that conversation piece on the side of the house all the time.
Right.
And again, it interested me yesterday. It was frustrating at some points, but it's the interest of keeping it. And if I didn't have enough problems, then you get into the mold industry and trying to find the mold in a house. A lot of times it's hidden and it's behind walls, and it frustrates a lot of customers that you got to tear out this wall and oops, it's not there. Maybe it's over here. Oh wait, I found it.
Right.
And that has its own nature, and helping and people. A lot of customers, if I see them today on the street, they say hi and stuff, and they're very appreciative of what you did for them. They realize that. Yeah. And
because you're out there saving lives, just from that. And so for all the viewers out there, if you're concerned about the radon level in your house, because my recommendation has always been like, if you can afford a radon mitigation system, which is not that costly most of the time compared to your lives, you should always put one in your house. So definitely reach out to Roger and his company to get more information on that. So Roger, now this, I don't think you have ever told me this though, so I'm going to put this on camera. So how did you get into the basement part of it as an engineer? I mean, this is okay. That's compared to radon. Roger's got this really gigantic success here from the basement world as well. So how did you get into the basement world?
Well, Radon World, as you're working on these houses, you come up across the financial aspect, and there's so much costing going into them and so much coming out, and then you got employees and stuff, and you're in the basements. And all these other contractors and this house sale thing, there's other, they come in and they leave, and you got the guys putting the sheetrock up, and you watch what they do. And then I was watching the foundation guys, and
how long ago was that, by the way, Roger?
This was probably 16 years ago.
Wow. It's been a few days.
Yeah. And I was watching our guy putting in a foundation system, and I was watching how he was doing it, and I could do that better. And that's what I said to myself as he's going through his project. And ask the client, how much did that foundation repair cost and stuff? Well, there's money there. It's tough work. It was difficult, but it's more financially rewarding. And
because you're solving a bigger problem.
I couldn't spin off a KDOT until I found the foundation world. That allowed the freedom to financial freedom to spin off and become foundation repair. Now, foundation repair, there's a lot of aspects to it. There's everything from the water into the basement. Well, also the mold coming into behind the walls and stuff, the sheetrock walls, you're peeling it all off. Well, you got water coming in. Well, I was giving out cards and advice on how to fix the foundation, left and right. And so I was always telling them how to fix it. And so I was giving away all those contractors,
secrets,
and how to do it. Yeah. And well, don't let them fix it like this, let them make sure they do it the way I want it done.
Right.
And just say the engineer, told you this is how it gets done. I'm
assuming none of those guys was engineers, right? Was it?
No,
I don't think there's any.
None of them.
By the way, on record, there's no other engineer foundation guys here in the local market. Roger's the only one. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. So
there's one in Kansas City that I know of.
Right.
Probably,
but not in the local market here. Right. So you started doing the foundation stuff.
It kind of was easy to step right into, and because it was easy to get the business, because I had I had a lot of the tools and a lot of the know-how, and the people, the contacts through the realty world and all my other customer base, and and I already built one company. How to build another one was not a hard trick. The first company to build was first of all scary, and second of all financially difficult. I couldn't find anybody with magic money sitting there saying, "Oh, I want to give thousands of dollars so you could buy these tools and get this advertising so this business can launch." These mom and pops. There's a lot of pain in that.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, my business launched off the backs of my credit card. I had a credit card, and you max it out buying tools, and that's how Advanced Environmental became. But Advanced Environmental had a financial engine rolled into the basement, and it takes a while to get all the right toys and tools. I got a new toy I just bought yesterday, or just showed up yesterday, to help that foundation world just get better and better and better. I'm only missing really one tool that I want yet in the foundation world to be the foundation company that I want to be. Some of the tools I actually had to invent.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible, because over the courses, Roger has checked out a lot of foundations for me, from like structural problems to mold problems, because typically structural problems will lead to water leaks, and then therefore that would lead to mold problems.
Yep.
What has like, if you want to just name or tell us one or two stories that customer had a situation, then you fix their problem, and they have become very, very appreciative after what you did. Can you kind of think of one or two customers that really stood out to you?
In the foundation world, I had a customer that had just recently, just sticking out of my mind, had a bid from another foundation company. They have a lot of presence on TV, so they're advertising, and again, as a business owner, that costs a lot of money.
Especially
well, I know where they were getting that money. Right. And as they drove up, I says, were they driving a brand new truck? And they said, yes, they were driving a brand new truck. How did you know? In a sense, I go, because that price that they gave you is so outlandish that they're taking advantage. And because this is the real price. And it was under half. And it was another realtor in your group actually gave me that name. Mm-hmm. And they're very appreciative. That whole group is very appreciative of what I did for that customer.
Right.
Because a young family, they had a little baby. Actually, she was sitting up. She was a really cute little girl. And I could just see that family doing that was going to, $20,000 was going to be a lot of money for them. And $8,000 was a lot better picture to invest into that home.
I cannot imagine what went through their minds
when they got the two bid.
$20,000 bid. I mean, they should probably they didn't know what to think about it.
One of the things is they were buying all the features. You got different things like I got a sump pit that's better than another sump pit.
Right.
I got a pump that's better than another pump. You got your best. They were trying to buy all the top of the line. So they bought all the features of the waterproofing system to because they were just I think they were like going, it's probably not going to be good enough.
Right.
I saw the bid. It was the first bid was good enough. For instance, we got some pumps that you can just basically walk over and it's looks like a floor almost. Mm-hmm. And then we got ones that are deeper than others, but really the basic one does the job. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to talk them into not overstepping what their needs were.
Right.
Because it was not going to be a basement that's going to be bedrooms and stuff like that.
I see.
But they were very happy and very appreciative. And I bet you if I asked them to write a referral, they would. But I don't I know a lot of your discussion in our groups is for referrals, but I just I don't know, it's just asking for things from people as the nerdy engineers would do. It just becomes a little difficult but I know Chen is very eloquent and one of the things he says that if you don't ask, you don't know. Right. And you're helping them and so you could be this is one of the Chen stories is you could be telling them that what do you call depriving them of your services by not asking.
That's true. That's a philosophy. That's something, Roger, we can definitely talk more about that as well. And I just have been really appreciative of you and all the services you've been able to provide to my customers, the communities around here. Because I know you travel as far as to Lawrence, Manhattan, all those areas, and really service those families there, and then a lot of real estate agents as well.
Emporia to Nebraska.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just a huge outreach for Roger. So that's why I decided to invite Roger on, and he accepted the invitation to jump on here, really share some of the insights. Most people would not really, in my opinion, coming to contact with Roger and his services until they're in that panic mode, right? Can you imagine a young family like, hey, your sump is failing, flooding your basement, and then, I mean, I would say not all services are the same, because when I was a younger person, I was taken advantage by these people who had the expertise I would rely on. But I'm not saying they're lying to me, but they're not telling me the full picture.
You're doing good when your customers, you're the owner of the company and they're tipping you.
That's true.
They're so happy that they actually I've had several of those checks written higher than what I was asking for.
You never told me that. Really?
No,
that's amazing.
That was often enough. I'm actually, if a barber cuts your hair and you work for, and that's the barber that owns the company, you're a little less on the tip range. But if they're an employee, like it's a waitress, you feel like you should be tipping. Mm-hmm. And, but the barbers, it's a kind of a natural thing is to think about tip. But your foundation guys are the guys that sell you a used car, you don't think about giving those guys tips.
You want some money back, right? Yeah, oftentimes people they want to, once in a while you come across a great service person. There's a great professionals in any profession you come across. So since we're in the Midwest, Roger, before I let you go, you got to share some tips with all the people who have watched this video or watching this video. What are some of the major killers of a foundation? Like, what could cause a foundation issues? Like, what's the most common things you see?
Common thing is water.
Okay.
You know, water becomes a lot of problems. In Kansas specifically, there's special clays that exist in this substrate that when the clays are dry, they shrink, and they shrink a lot. And they actually make those big rift cracks in a yard, for instance. And you can actually look down those rift cracks. You've seen them. And if dirt falls down those rift cracks, and the very next time it gets wet again and the clay expands, well, now it can't expand that rift crack. So it ratchets the foundations out. And
that's a huge amount of force, right?
Yeah, huge forces. 5,000 pounds per foot of a house foundation is one of my calculations. And that's, if you 60-foot wall, that's a lot of tons. And we're using concrete and it's 32 or to 42 psi, or 3,500 psi to 4,500 psi.
So 3,500 per square foot.
That's resistive. That's the compression force of concrete.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it's trying to hold that foundation with its steel and stuff. I mean, you're doing a lot. I mean, you're trying to resist that force, and that force is just Mother Nature pushing that foundation
day in and day out.
And I was standing between two houses, and one house wall failed, and I'm outside with that customer, and he's looking at his neighbor's house. He goes, "Well, why didn't it happen to my neighbor's house?" And I go, "Well, you lost." And he's like, he was confused, and so I go, "Well, yeah, as this foundation, this clay between the two houses is pushing out between the two foundations. One of the two foundations had to give, and yours did." And so he's got cracks in the foundation, and he needed, I think this guy was either probably I-beams or piers, or not I-beams or plate anchors to resist that force and get that foundation wall secure again. But the neighbor didn't have to invest that because his wall failed first.
So maybe next time, because after you put in a better system, so next time it will be the neighbor's wall, right?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
So
actually, in the end, I think we'd like to leave it where the neighbors, like as you excavate the trenches, we like to put a little gypsum in with the soil, so that it allows gypsum breaks down clay, and it allows the foundation a chance to or the soil a chance to not be so expansive the next time. Wow.
Well, hey, Roger, thank you so much for jumping on my show here today.
Sure.
I hope you guys are walking away with some valuable information here. Feel free to reach out to Roger. I'm going to post his company link and all the contact information in the description of this video. And look for many more years of collaboration with you, Roger. And then don't hesitate to reach out to Roger's companies, and then he will not disappoint you. So thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Jen.